Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Griffin Larson-Erf. I am a member of the youth group and one of the worship associates today. Whether this is your spiritual home or you're newly discovering this community, it's good to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth and love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. If you're joining us online, there are many links of connection in the description below the YouTube live stream, including the order of service credits, ways to support our mission, and how to join our email newsletter list. If you're in the sanctuary, we encourage you to use the QR code for the digital order of service or to take one of the large print orders of service. Both are located on the table in the lobby. Hymnals are also available right outside the sanctuary doors. We also have an inductive loop system for anyone wearing a hearing aid that is equipped with a T-coil. Your hearing aid should automatically connect if you enable the T-coil feature. For those who do not have a T-coil enabled hearing aid, we have receivers that can pick up the loop signal and you can listen through earphones. They're located on the table in the lobby.
Did you try out the sample chairs yet? The Capital Campaign Sanctuary Chairs team has been researching possible chairs for about 3 years. Using 27 different factors, they researched many options, trying to meet as many of our needs as possible. We now have 4 chair options for you to test and provide your feedback. They are at the back of the sanctuary, and you'll be given a form to provide your feedback. The main reason for this testing is to experience the comfort of each chair. Please ignore the colors. Also, we will probably order some chairs with arms and some without. After the service, come put your derriere in the chair and listen to your back for feedback to let us know what you want. The garden swap is May 14th at 2:30. See Doug Erickson at one of the tables in the back after the service for more information. Also after the service, please visit the Emissions Reduction Task Force's program table located at the back of the sanctuary by the south lawn windows to sign up to be on the planning group that meets monthly or to sign up to be someone who wants to help implement specific tasks as the task force identifies and organizes what is needed. The rummage sale is almost here. Donation drop-off starts on Sunday, May 7th, just a week from today. Our donation tip sheet is your guide to what items we are accepting in each department. Visit the Rummage info table for a copy or download one from the UCE website. Plan to stay after the service next week to help unload cars and begin setup. Pizza will be served. We've got a parachute. We've got a beanbag toss. We've got bingo, and lots more. Join the fun and volunteer to help organize games for children and adults at our annual picnic on Sunday, June 4th. The Congregational Connections team invites you to sign up today for half-hour shifts during the picnic. There will be a sign-up table at the rear of the sanctuary in the cafe area after the service. Yo-yos will be available just in case you want to show off your skills. And now, let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829. Before the Potawatomi were forcibly removed west of the Mississippi River, this land was then sold to white settlers. We remember the minds and bodies of the black people who built up our country's culture and economy, a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice since 1619. Acknowledging the tremors of violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be witnessed today. These acknowledgements are one small effort towards building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and throughout our thoughts into actions. To learn more about our land and labor acknowledgements, visit our website. Please join in saying the words of affirmation. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land they use as sacred space.
The youth group brought the flowers in recognition of our congregation's amazing diversity. As they light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying these words on the screen by Reverend Florence Kaplow. We light this chalice in honor of the Unitarian Universalist first principle, to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We recognize that these words call us out of our comfort into an ever-deepening commitment, a commitment to embrace one another in our wide diversity. And they call us into the practice of looking into our own hearts with courage and honesty.
Please rise and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before we sing our opening hymn, let's greet each other in the chat or turn to one another briefly to say good morning. Please stay after the service and continue your conversations. Let's keep building kinship among us. Now, please remain risen and join in singing our opening hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We will sing it through 2 times.
we have the time for all ages. Just Ask by Sonia Sotomayor, illustrated by Rafael Lopez. Hi, I'm Sonia. My friends and I are planting a garden. Gardens are magical places. Thousands of plants bloom together, and every flower, every berry, and every leaf is different. Each has a different smell, different color, different shape, and different purpose. Some flowers need lots of sunlight. Others thrive in the shade. Some have to be trimmed regularly, while others are better off left alone. Kids are all different too. Some of us are in a hurry and others take more time. Some of us seem shy and quiet, while others are chatty and loud. Some of our differences are easy to spot. Others take longer to notice. Each of us grows in our own way, so if you are curious about other kids, just ask. Not everyone is comfortable answering questions about themselves, but I don't mind. What am I doing? Several times a day, I prick my finger to measure the sugar in my blood, and I give myself shots of medicine called insulin. I do this because I have diabetes and my body doesn't make insulin naturally like other people's. Even though this can sometimes hurt, I gather all of my courage to do it to be healthy. Do you ever need to take medicine to stay healthy? I do. My name is Raphael, and I have asthma, which means that sometimes I have trouble breathing. When that happens, I take a break and use an inhaler with medicine to make breathing easier. Quiet time also helps me catch my breath. My inhaler is like a tool to help my body. Do you use a tool to help your body? I do. My name is Arturo, and I use my cane to get around safely because I am blind. My friend Madison is also blind, and her guide dog Lucky helps her get places safely. Even though we can't see, we strengthen our senses and notice lots of details by hearing with our ears, touching with our hands, and smelling with our noses. How do you use your senses? I'm VJ. I learn about the world differently because I can see, but I can't hear. I'm deaf. Most of the time, I communicate with people using my face and hands through sign language. I also love reading and writing. What about you? I'm Bianca, and I have dyslexia, so I have to work really hard when I'm reading and writing words. Sometimes I use computer programs to help me. My imagination is full of ideas, and I'm very good at making art from the pictures I see in my mind. Are you really good at something? I'm great at dinosaurs. I know all about them. I'm Jordan, and I am autistic. Organizing and counting all my toy dinosaurs over and over again helps me feel calm. My classmate Tiana also is autistic, but it's different for her. She doesn't talk, but I like to talk. I especially like to talk about dinosaurs. Hi, my name is Julia. Sometimes I wiggle or make sounds that I can't control because I have Tourette's syndrome. People sometimes disapprove of me because they think I am not paying attention or just acting out. I am listening, but my body is not. I get frustrating having to always explain, but I just tell people that it's just what my body does. Do you ever feel frustrated? My name is Manuel, and I get frustrated. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is also called ADHD. ADHD makes me want to move around just when I'm supposed to sit still. When my teachers and friends are patient with me if I'm wiggly and get distracted, I can usually get myself back on track. But boy, when folks need a new idea, I have lots to offer. What are your gifts? I love to sing and I love to talk. I am Grace, and I was born with Down syndrome. All us kids with Down syndrome have different skills, and we can learn to do almost anything other kids can do. It just takes me a lot longer to learn. One way I learn is to ask questions. What helps you learn? It's me, Sonia again. I ask questions too. When something seems different or new, I just ask my parents or my teachers, and they help me understand. This is what I've learned. Imagine if all the plants in this garden were exactly the same. Like, what if we could only grow peas? That would mean no strawberries or cucumbers or carrots. It might also mean no trees or roses or sunflowers. Just like in our garden, all the ways we are different make our neighborhood, our whole world really, more interesting and fun. And just like all of these plants, each of us has unique powers to share with the world to make it more interesting and richer. What will you do with your powers?
I invite us to settle into a time of quiet reflection as we share our joys and sorrows as part of our practice of beloved community. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like spoken aloud, you may write them in the Joys and Sorrows book that lives on the table right inside the doors from the lobby, or you can submit a form online. The button is found on our homepage, or you may email myself or Reverend Allison or Reverend Elizabeth. We listen to these offerings with tenderness and respect. Let us all quiet our voices and quiet our bodies. Taking a deep breath in together, exhaling slowly, having a moment of quiet reflection together. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared before our service today. Nancy shares a request for prayers for my sister-in-law, Margaret, who went into the hospital for blood clots and is now awaiting a diagnosis from spots on her liver. From Kathy Underwood, please keep our middle child, Roman, in your thoughts and prayers as he is dealing with some major mental health issues. His new insurance doesn't start until Monday, so he can't admit himself to a program until then. From Amy Grabowski, congratulations to Greg Grabowski for the successful completion of his 70th revolution around the sun. I hope you have many, many more. Happy birthday, Greg. And from Kristen Larson and Craig Spittle, we paid off the mortgage early. We paid it off early, something we didn't think possible, having careers in the arts. If you are able, please support the arts, especially the performing arts. They are struggling the most from the impact of the pandemic. This sacred space for our tender offerings is part of our practice of beloved community. Together, we expand our celebrations and lessen the burdens of our grief. You are invited to come forward to light a candle for the joys and sorrows that are on your heart this morning. And if you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and Kathy will bring a candle to you. Please come forward. Please join in saying our words of affirmation. For these joys we give our thanks, for these sorrows we give our love. Please join me in an attitude of prayer and meditation as I share the words from the poem This Rose by Adam Lawrence Dyer. The purpose of the open flower is not about the present hour. Instead, it hints at legacies and beauty's hope for what can be. We too are called to be the flower that buds along the fragile bower, where beauty, hope, and what can be, for now, may be but filigree. So where the rose in spring may flower, bathed in sun and quenched by shower, we grow to show posterity, bright blooming through adversity. Blessed be. We will not have a sung response this morning. I invite our preschool through sixth graders to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders as Reed takes us through our offering.
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, our values, and our principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with Community Renewal Society, whose mission is to inform and bring people of faith together in partnership with communities, coalitions, interfaith organizations, and civic leaders of the greater Chicago area to intentionally and decisively transform society toward greater social justice at the intersection of racism and poverty. You may text to give, mail in a check, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line that if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
Neurodiverse folks are people whose brains are organized in such a way that they are disabled by our culture designed by neurotypical brains, such as some of you folks. Autistic people and folks with ADHD are among some of these neurodiverse individuals. Throughout history, neurotypical brains have been seen as the norm. We thought we would listen this morning to some neurodivergent people talk about how neurotypical folks might enable them to negotiate their neurotypical gatherings. First, let's hear from some people you may recognize. Hello. We're famous models of autistic representation on television who have been dragged from the TV show universes we naturally inhabit in order to talk to you about autism. Perhaps we ought to introduce ourselves. I'll go first. My name is Sheldon Cooper. I'm from the show The Big Bang Theory. I'm a physicist at the University of California, and people somehow find humor in my interactions with the other professionals I live next to in my apartment, all of whom are almost as competent as me.
I am Mr. Spock from the television program Star Trek and programs and films inspired by it. I am a member of the Vulcan race who suppress emotion and devote ourselves to a life of pure logic. I serve in the intergalactic governmental organization Starfleet, investigating the unknown corners of the universe on a 5-year mission alongside my captain James T. Kirk and sundry other human colleagues.
My name is William Cranston, or as I'm known colloquially to my close contemporaries, Billy. I derive from the television series Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where I attend Angel Grove High School in Angel Grove, California, while protecting Earth from the malignant machinations of extraterrestrial invaders in the guise of the Blue Ranger, member of a quintet of champions known as the Power Rangers, assembled expressly for this purpose.
You didn't have to bother, Billy. They almost certainly haven't understood at least 75% of what you just said. Although, to be fair, neither does the broad majority of the human race, in your TV show or any other.
Regardless, now that introductions have been made, we may progress to our discussion of the neurological condition you humans refer to as autism. Each of us displays traits of this condition, which any of you who observe our lives on television may have recognized. Each of us possesses an intricate, precise memory and a vast command of scientific data. We are devoted above all else to scientific endeavors, a form of devotion symptomatic of autism. I believe your human scientists refer to it as a hyperfixation.
Furthermore, although our mastery of science is irrefutable, we find ourselves woefully encumbered in any given scenario, necessitating social interaction.
Not that I, on general principle, enjoy being surrounded by people of a lower intellectual caliber than myself.
Do I grab a microphone? Oh. Hi, everybody. I'm Reed. I'm not a TV show character, just a real-life guy who actually is autistic. Listen, everyone. This may be what autism looks like in television, but television is notorious for not being true to real life. And the thing is, when it comes to autism, that's kind of a big deal. Because real-life autism is not so entertaining. Like, take those hyperfixations these idiots were just talking about. It's true that autistic people get obsessed with one particular subject that they're very knowledgeable about, and that becomes a crucial element of their life. It's true that that's called a hyperfixation. And yes, some people, autistic people, do have hyperfixations about science and go into scientific fields, but not all. Not every autistic person is into science. Me, for example, I like Doctor Who, world history, playing the trumpet, and Norse mythology. Especially Doctor Who.
Yes, Doctor Who. My program's eternal opponent in the struggle for dominance over the souls of science fiction lovers everywhere. Second only to Star Wars.
Shut up, you. I'm making an epic speech. And it's true that autistic people tend to have a hard time in social situations, but not all of us are total loners. Personally, I just enjoy having a small, concentrated friend group. And even if we don't always interact with people in ways that they're used to, we aren't cold and emotionless. In fact, I can get incredibly worked up about little irritations that other people don't find that big of a deal. We don't usually have Billy's academic vocabulary or Spock's stoic and rigid demeanor, and the vast majority of us aren't straight-up jerks like Sheldon.
Hey! Actually, no, that's accurate.
In fact, there's a great deal about the autistic experience that these characters don't reflect. Like, some of us don't like to be touched or hugged. Some of us are more obsessive-compulsive or prone to anxiety than others. I'm like that. Autism isn't one condition. It's an entire continuum of cognitive and behavioral patterns with many overlapping patterns to them. They call this thing autism spectrum disorder for a reason.
If I am comprehending your monologue sufficiently, do you intend to communicate that two different autistic individuals may nominally experience the same condition, but in fact be subject to vastly different perspectives, behaviors, and experiences?
You're dang skippy. And you know something else? The most important thing of all, we're not aliens. Spock, you're not autistic, okay? You act like an autistic person in some ways, but you're not autistic. You're a Vulcan. Half-human Vulcan, but still not totally a human. You have the neurotypical brain of an alien species. I'm autistic, and I'm a 100% human being with a brain that isn't like the brains of most other members of my species. My autism is part of what makes me human. It doesn't come from being or make me any less of a human being, and I don't want people to think I'm some kind of alien just because I think differently.
A most logical assertion.
Listen, I know that to neurotypical people like most of you, or at least some of you, people on the autism spectrum can seem weird or confusing. But to be honest, you feel that way to us, too. Everybody's mind works differently, and no one sees the universe through exactly the same lens. We all have our own perspectives, and we own those. Even if you don't understand me, or I don't understand you, we don't have to think of each other as freaks, or weirdos, or aliens, because the truth is, in all our complexity and variation, in all our infinite diversity and infinite combinations, we're all just human beings. Like these.
Well, I do suppose Spock is too cool to be anyone but Spock.
I do not understand your use of the term cool, Dr. Cooper. I am never any other person other than myself, irregardless of my body temperature.
They're not good autistic representation, but you gotta admit, they're some of the funniest people on TV.
Autism is really hard to explain for me because I've never really experienced being a normal person, because I did that in quotes because, well, let's face it here, there really is no such thing as normal.
It can be a lot of different things.
It's a spectrum. Not everyone has every single symptom.
You can't tell from someone's, face if they have autism.
Autism is how someone's brain is wired.
It's just part of your perception of the world. there's too much people standing around talking, too much noises. Just feels like uncomfortable.
It's lights and sounds that usually do it for me. Like, it's like the entire world is like pressuring you and like crunching onto you, and there's not really much you can do about it except just get out of there.
I don't go to movie theaters. I've never been to a concert. I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of stuff.
I remember very early on, like, watching someone scratching at the carpet. Like, the feeling sticks when it's really awful, and it's just like...
Some people with autism have a hard time knowing when someone's happy or sad or angry or frustrated.
I wish socializing were easier, definitely. Because there are so many times when I'm with other people who seem to have a natural flow of conversation that they all get, and it almost seems like they have a psychic link with each other at some point that I am locked out of.
If someone with autism is like a quiet kid in a corner or something like that, it's usually because he's questioning himself. So if you see someone like sitting alone or something like that, feel free to go and talk to them. It could help them out a ton. Trust me, I know.
Autistic people don't want to be talked down to, first of all.
Well, some people, like teachers and stuff, misunderstand because they don't know that people have autism.
I wish people would understand that autistic people have their own voices.
I wish people wouldn't judge people with autism so harshly.
I want to know which person knows where autism comes from.
I feel like a cure for autism is a complicated subject.
So in order to cure autism, you would have to go into the DNA and genetics of someone and alter it. But that's your basic makeup, so that would probably impact your entire being.
I think if you're autistic, and really the only true cure, I think, is really what I have gotten over the years, which is support and love.
If I could cure autism, I would definitely not. Mainly because of the fact that I want people to be different.
I wouldn't want to cure autism, no.
I'm really good at a lot of things.
I am good at thinking a lot.
Good at writing stories, like the beginning and endings. I'm just not very good at filling them in.
I'm good at...
I'm told I have a pretty good sense of humor. I like to think I have a good sense of humor.
I went to music school for 6 years in vocal performance.
I was a 3D animation major for 3 years.
I'm good at...
creative writing, fiction, and medieval fantasy.
fishing, taking a walk, riding my bicycle, playing the piano, taking the train, reading, dancing, no. That's all I have.
A lot of people with autism are able to do something.
I would like to live independently.
I've always wanted to be a writer.
I also want to make the world a better place.
I don't just see one future, I see many possibilities of my future.
People with autism are people, too. That about sums it up.
Hi, everyone. I don't have too much time, so pay attention! What's wrong with you? Focus! For someone so smart, you can be so stupid. I mean, how could you forget about that? We just talked about it. Cuddy, something wrong with your brain. Do you even think? I do think, actually. In fact, I'm finishing a PhD in experimental cognitive psychology, or literally, the scientific study of thinking. But I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, predominantly inattentive. I mean, I've spent so much time distracted by extraneous things, you may notice that one of my eyes has almost permanently dedicated itself to my periphery. But seriously, okay. As of 2011, the CDC reported that 11% of children ages 4 to 17 had been diagnosed with ADHD. That's 6.4 million kids, 3 Houstons. And unlike fruity cereal, ADHD is not just for kids, but 4% of adults had been diagnosed, 9.8 million people, New York City plus Philadelphia. One thing I forgot to mention, all of the expressions that I began with have something in common. They've all been said to me by people who have proven time and again their unconditional love, support, and willingness to do anything for me. But in those moments, they were extremely frustrated. So, being so common, where does ADHD come from? Long before I knew my cognitive traits were called ADHD, I began studying how natural environments affect attention compared to urban environments. What research consistently shows is that natural environments can restore, even improve, your ability to sustain focus. That's because they they contain more items that attract what's called involuntary attention. Sudden movement, noise, an odd odor, bright colors, anything that breaks the consistency of your environment that you reflexively turn your attention to is engaging involuntary attention. And that's the kind that's cranked up in people like me, so it doesn't take a loud noise or a bright color to distract us, but any noise or any color. Engaging involuntary attention, like natural environments do, gives the other kind of attention, voluntary attention, a break. That's the kind we use to stay focused on long, mundane, but important tasks that make us feel mentally tired because it runs out. It's the kind you pay. It's also the kind that ADHD folks particularly suck at. But it's kind of important not to suck at in modern society. But it's likely that involuntary attention was adaptive during human evolution. The ability to notice slight movement in the brush, the color of ripe fruit behind leaves, detect the faint trickle of water, or catch sight of a distant herd of prey just before they disappear over the horizon. And the impulse to follow them would have contributed to your eating lunch and not becoming it. A few years ago, scientists discovered that men of a certain nomadic group in Kenya who had a genetic variant that's implicated in the restlessness and shifting curiosity of ADHD were better nourished than their counterparts without the variant. But in a group of those same people who split off to live sedentary lives, the men with the variant were undernourished compared to their counterparts. Interesting. This information has kindled discussion as to whether ADHD should even be pathologized. I mean, if it was adaptive for survival, then it's supposed to be here. And whether you know it or not, humankind, you're grateful for us. So could we at least start going by potential hunting and gathering badasses instead? But what good would that do us, right? I mean, the 16.2 million people in America alone with ADHD can all abandon modern life for hunting and gathering. I mean, I'm definitely considering it. But it just gets one thinking. Is ADHD inherently dysfunctional, or is it more of a fish out of water condition? Imagine traits that were once potent fuel for the fire of nomadic success are now remnants, glowing embers waiting to be stoked, nurtured back to life. What if the stigma of ADHD and its exclusion from mainstream ideas of functionality is a prohibitive drizzle, suppressing those embers, though unable to extinguish them. In this firelight, I've noticed from my own experience several benefits of ADHD that are applicable in the modern world. For one, brainstorming. Sure, my mind is rarely quiet, but I'm comfortable in that. The sheer number of thoughts and ideas is astounding. Even if a lot of them are bad or half-baked, they're great jumping off points for deeper thinking. One distraction can lead to an unending train of thought, fueled by intrigue for each next thing. It's like popping popcorn. One kernel goes, and then they all take off. I'm also good at navigating outside my comfort zone. If something's intriguing, I can't not pursue it. So my interest often trumps any anxiety from exploring something foreign. I have to know what's over there. That culture, that school of thought, that hobby or lifestyle, or literally beyond the next mountain. So instead of being encamped, I've explored to know what I love and hate about opposing political ideologies or parenting styles or subcultures. And yeah, it's scary to explore. But scarier by far is the thought that I still don't know what I don't know. And I'm resilient. I have to be. Parts of having ADHD in this world really, really suck. But I quickly get distracted from them. Whether it's a conflict with a family member or frustration with my own shortcomings, it's true. Emotionality is higher and self-regulation is more of a challenge, but I find I'm able to move on from negativity pretty quickly by a simple change of setting or activity. Sometimes I even forget I was upset. And I'm adaptive. With inattention, you have to embrace the fact that you will forget, misplace, overlook, put off constantly. So you learn to bounce back from the consequences quickly and creatively. I'm kind of a damage control expert. I often, without ruminating, will jump to what's salvageable. What about this problem is useful, even for the few that aren't my fault. And finally, my passion is authentic. I'm really bad at feigning interest because I can't inhibit my natural intrigue. So if I'm showing interest in a person, activity, or idea, that's real. I don't have to try to pursue my passions. That's all I can pursue. People often don't realize that ADHD includes the capacity to hyperfocus and absorb information like a sponge, just not to choose upon what you're hyperfocused. But it is not laziness. And it's not changing. So again, with all these pluses, is it really a disorder? Well, it does result in significant distress and is characterized by diminished functioning in ordinary life. But where does that distress come from? Not fitting well within the narrowly standardized educational and industrial institutions of our society? Well, not without pharmacologically dulling some of my own favorite traits anyway. What if some disorders aren't of individuals, but of whole groups, maybe even whole cultures or societies? I think that as a society, we suffer from what I like to call PUD, pro-uniformity disorder, or affectionately, PUD. Despite my superpowers, a month and a half ago, I was up late standing in my kitchen while my family slept and was in a bad way. I could see my traits affecting my partner, my son. I was not making progress on work, long overdue. Trying medication, overdoing it on self-care, taking time to recharge, but still unable to focus. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm supposed to give a TEDx talk in 6 weeks about why I'm glad I have ADHD. But I'm not. Shortly thereafter, a suspiciously timely image came through social media that really impacted me. I'd like you all to just take a moment with me and reflect on it with respect to your own lives. Are you rebelling? Are you helping the people around you win their own rebellions? Are you helping the children around you never have to fight one? The suicide rate is higher in people with ADHD and their families. My clinical colleagues have shared with me that many children they see with ADHD have already begun at young ages to self-loathe, even having thoughts and often actions of self-harm or suicide. The youngest example shared with me was 7 years old, daily thoughts of self-harm. The stress of not being able to function in an environment for which you're not adapted, while expected to, is heavy. People often think the comorbidities of ADHD, like self-loathing and depression, are purely inherent to the condition. But I'd argue they're in large part due to how outsiders react to us. So if you're the parent, guardian, teacher, sibling, friend of, or care about a child who is a potential hunting and gathering badass, or a literally unstoppable brainstormer, help them win their self-love rebellion. Check your frustration. If instead of punishing their shortcomings, nurture their abilities. If you find they're distracted, ask them, what were you just thinking about? Not because they're in trouble, but because it could be fascinating. And get them outside in nature. It can actually be as good as Ritalin. I'm still fighting my rebellion every day. And it's far from won. But it's even further from lost. So I'm going to leave you with a very simple tactic for fighting your own rebellion, whatever your battlefield may be. Since I was a kid, whenever I feel completely misunderstood or unappreciated, alone, because I don't think right, I'll seek out a mirror, look straight in my eye, and reassure myself, not narcissistically or egotistically, but genuinely. I love you. Because as long as you do, somebody does. And as long as somebody does, Cuddy, you gonna be all right. Thank you.
The folks you have heard today are all good people. We need them in our church community. How can we make accommodations to enable them to stay?
The open room can be disabling. Let's reinstate the tables over there, offering a closed-in, quiet area in which to sit.
Crowd noise can disable. Let's offer noise-canceling headsets.
Sitting still disables focus. Let's welcome fiddle-friendly aids such as phones, sketch tablets, knitting, and fiddle objects.
The buzz of fluorescent lighting can disable. Let's change the lighting downstairs.
Touch can disable. Let's give folks a way to say what kind of touch is uncomfortable to them, maybe with stickers on name tags.
In fact, we'd like to give you an opportunity today to silently say what kind of touch you would welcome by offering a sticker code for your name tag. If you're good for a hug, choose a green sticker. If a handshake would do, choose a blue sticker. And if you are sensitive to touch, choose a red sticker. We'll offer stickers after the service at the table in the back there. And consider taking this opportunity to help others interact comfortably with you.
Our closing words are the prayer in Asperger's E minor by J.R. Turek. Blessed are you that see beyond the affliction, deeper than the unflawed skin that reveals nothing of the turmoil within.
Gratitude to you that see around the corner, past downcast eyes that hide for fear of a social encounter that threatens to unhinge a tentative grasp on sensibilities.
Shame on you that points a finger in accusation and admonition of what you assess as lazy, as insolent, as defiant, as if your word is supreme, as if you have the right to decide who should be.
Who should be a perky Pollyanna, a party hopper with the confidence to karaoke in a room full of strangers. You, with no regard for those who choose not to play center stage.
Blessings to those that never lecture.
Speak up.
Hurry up.
Buck up beneath the pressure.
And grow up already.
Because you know that it's not about maturing, not about our legs that function without aids, our arms that swing with a regulated gait, a brain that responds to more than sit, stand, stay commands.
Shame on those who pity us because we don't smile as wide or often, because perhaps we have a predilection for repetition, a need to twist our hands in ringing motion, or appear cool or callous, or unwilling to listen to you talk about you.
But maybe we don't read your body language, don't guess your expressions of disgust.
That
we're not exactly like you, and maybe, just maybe, that's a blessing for us.
No one suffers from autism, but many of us do suffer from people who can't stand that we are autistic.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on screen by Annie Dillard. We are extinguishing to know each other's beautiful faces and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. We will sing verses 1 and 3.
May we leave this morning more aware of how to engage with each other authentically, knowing that we are ever growing and ever learning. May you go forth not just knowing that you are embraced for exactly who you are, but feeling that within our community, that you are loved exactly as you are. Blessed be. Go in peace.
Amen.